I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash, to the 144,000, and to the 1/3 of men, women, and children that are coming back to these laws, statutes, and commandments in these last days. Man, oh man, oh man. Things are turning up. And when I say they're turning up, it's really hard to keep up with all the things that are going on right now in the world. I want to start right off with the scripture. So we're going to go to the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. This scripture right here is so true. It's so true because we've been teaching this for a very long time as a nation. Whether you've been in the truth for a little bit, whether you've been in the truth for 30 years, this vibration has been going on for a very long time. And with just the snap of the finger, with this coronavirus, it's affected so many things, more things that we could ever imagine. And this is an old ancient tactic. You know, with the plagues. Because you can't fight a plague. You can't contain a plague. Because the plague itself runs faster than you could ever see. So just like that, America is completely confounded. The world is confounded, as a matter of fact. But you know, to avoid panic, to avoid pandemonium, right, which was a failure, right? Because the moment people on this side of the earth realized that this was a real thing, they started panicking. They started panic buying, is what they're calling it. So even though your neighborhood might not have, or your state even might not have that immediate threat of the coronavirus, people are fearful enough to go out and exhaust their dollars to buy whatever they feel is necessary during this time, because of the fear that they now have over this coronavirus. And now that it's going all over the United States, it's becoming a real problem. Even the heathens are waking up little by little to the fact that this is an issue. Right? The Lord is doing numbers. Mecca shut down. And I want to talk about this for a little bit, because as we all know, Islam is the second largest religion in the world. Arguably the fastest growing religion in the world. Right? A lot of our people, a lot of Israel are Muslims. For whatever reason. And And just with the snap of a finger, this coronavirus made that holy land desolate. That should not be possible. It should not be possible, because that is a so-called holy site. And if the God that they worship was who they claim he is, how is it possible that this is happening? The holiest of holy sites in this world is now desolate due to the coronavirus. So now, if you're in the truth, you know for sure that the Lord is not dealing with Islam. When has any holy land been cleared out that quick? Mind you, yes, we went off. So there was a whole period of time where our kingdom started to fall. And we had to flee Jerusalem. Right? But when were plagues ever deployed on Jerusalem? I'm not quite sure if that's ever happened. But it's happened everywhere else, right? And this is heavy because if the Lord can do this to Islam, if the Lord that we serve, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, can make an example out of Islam, and this is just lightweight. This is just lightweight. And the fact that the followers of Islam so swiftly adhered to the quarantine or the shutdown of the holy site, or the so-called holy site, even if it's for a month, right? The fact that they were so quick to forbear their traditions for the sake of this virus, that should already tell you something. If the spirit is in you, that should already make your spirit feel some kind of like suspicion on how this could happen, right? Because a power like that should do what it wants to do. It shouldn't be able to just, and what reason? What reason would Allah have in kicking all of his followers out for a month? They're making the pilgrimage. They're doing what they're supposed to do, but now they can't even have the Hajj that they have. So that may not be enough to prove for some, right? But at least in my eyes, it either looks like the followers jump ship on Allah or Allah jump ship on the followers. But that's neither here or there. That's just one thing that happened as a result of this coronavirus. You got schools closing. You got Harvard demanding that all of its students pack their bags and be off campus by Sunday. Now, this is Harvard, A lot of us can't even afford to get into Harvard, right? Very expensive school that can afford to accommodate whatever it wants. Most prestigious school in the United States, if not one of them. There's obviously several of them in the Ivy League. And Harvard is kicking their students out. And it's not just students who live in the US, it's students from everywhere. I mean, if you're going to Harvard and they're telling you that you have to be off of campus within, the next 4 or 5 days, and you don't have a place to go, either because you may have gotten a scholarship, right, from another country to come there to study, or you could be halfway across the nation and you have no family in the area, right? But you have to have some place to go because they want you to study online, right? The Most High is cutting through this entire economy. I mean, all facets. And it's almost like you can't keep up. It's almost like when, you have a car and you haven't gotten an oil change. Let's just say, you couldn't afford to get an oil change and you haven't gotten an oil change for a while. And then all of a sudden you start having, transmission issues, and you don't fix those issues, and those issues cause other issues, and the issues just become so out of control that you can't even keep up with it. That's what's happening right now. And America is trying to convey that, we have things under control when we really don't. Things are really out of control. Even in China, they're desperately trying to conclude that this virus seems to be slowing down. They want to convey that, this could possibly be it for the coronavirus in China, even though it's running rampant everywhere else. They're desperate. They want this thing to go away so they can start moving things around to jumpstart their economy again. But how? How could it possibly happen? It's done so much damage already. You got empty grocery shelves over there in China. You got empty, arguably everywhere where the coronavirus is now, you got empty shelves on the kitchen. In the grocery stores. You got large gatherings being banned in like California, soon to happen in other states. California is just setting the precedent because it happened on that side of the world. On that side of the U.S. first. California and Washington State. But Washington and California are pretty much joined to the hip. They're pretty much on the same tectonic plate. So now they're questioning everything else. Large events, social events, NBA games, right? It's becoming a nuisance, so to speak, to even be able to congregate. Even churches are talking about discontinuing their services. That's how serious the Lord is, right? And for some reason, people still can't see it. They still can't see it. They have this normalcy bias that is convincing them that no matter how bad things get, not only we can work through them, but things will return back to normal. Some people aren't even going out to buy the simple things that they might need. And it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, at some point, it's going to get to a point where, you know, now that there's been cases in the DMV, that a lot of these federal places are going to start working remotely. Some of them have. And once they start working remotely, then that's going to influence, you know, a lot of other businesses, contractors, and whatnot to also do the same thing. Like where I work, we follow the federal regulations very closely. So if they move in a certain way, because we're so tied with them, a lot of their workers, a lot of what we do kind of is in relation to, you know, federal things. We're going to be in that same boat. And you got to take into account when so many people from different sectors are working from home, it affects people who don't have that opportunity, you know, because you got people in construction, you got people who have these hands-on jobs that require them to be present, right? Even when it comes to, you know, the sports that we enjoy. Yes, we can watch sports on TV, right? Yes, the players can play in an empty stadium, but what about the people that depend on working in the stadium, the boots on the ground, the people who collect tickets, the people who, you know, serve the fans, right? What are they thinking about? All from this coronavirus. It affects everything. There's a video that I saw the other day which shows a very large wheel that's moving through the universe, moving through space, making its way towards Earth right now. And nobody knows what it is. They call it an anomaly. This anomaly is at least 1 or 2 times the size of the Earth. And it looks like a wheel. Let's go to the video now.
Now we have a massive object that is making its way through the stereo ahead HI2. I'm going to hit start. You're going to see this. Ladies and gentlemen, I've covered a lot of stuff throughout all the years. Things by the sun, broad daylight, off of satellite imagery. I've never witnessed an object of this size making its way through space, caught on the cam, and it seems like when they pick this up right around frame 160, they cut it out. You're gonna see it makes it right out here, right out to back here, and then they're gonna cut it. This is Earth. That is Earth right there. Tara, see, gone. They clip it. That's what happens. So here.
So if you see this wheel here, which looks like it has some kind of symbol in the middle of it, and something made me like believe that it could be the sign of the Son of Man. Because remember when Christ was born, when Yasharahla was born, there were some wise men that were there that knew he was born, right? Because they were following the stars. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 2 and verse 2, saying, "Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him." And when Yahushua was born, there appeared a sign in heaven. And for some reason, my spirit kind of, made me think about that when I saw this wheel, because I've heard in the past that sign that the wise man saw was the North Star. Right? There was some kind of alignment with the North Star that made this unique type of sign in the sky, which happened to be during the time that Yahushua was born. And it looked eerily similar to this wheel that's floating through the universe. And I'm thinking, man, what if that wheel blotted out the sun, and so we could all see that is the sun, the sign of the Son of Man. That's just a thought. I'm just, I just let my mind wander a little bit, of course, we always need to bring it back to the scriptures, because you don't want to veer off into all those things, because that's not really neither here or there, right? Our job is to keep these commandments and teach these commandments in these last days, so we can be delivered, so we can make our election sure. But when you step back and you look at the big picture and you're like, man, all these different things, all these unique, all these huge things, even the little things, all these things are like coming together, they're converging. And it's really hard to keep track. And that's why, like it says in Matthew, the 24th chapter, Matthew 24, verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. Yahushua is saying all these things are going to be happening at once. And I can't point to another time where all these different things were happening to the point where every hour, you could hear something new. At any second, we can go from everything being normal to complete and utter pandemonium. Not just in this country, but everywhere. And that's why in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3, when the Lord is saying, at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it surely come, it will not tarry. So even though things seem like they're moving slow, that doesn't mean that it's going to take a long time. Let me say that again. Just because it seemed at one point that things were moving slow or nothing was going to happen, some people say, well, maybe it's not in this generation, maybe it's a generation behind us, maybe it could be 7 years, 10 years, 50 years, all that could be true. But what it's saying is, once it actually starts happening, we're not going to be able to keep up. It's not going to tarry. It's going to be boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam. And that's what's happening right now. So when we take another look at these scriptures, and the Most High is talking about, for the elect's sake, jumping down to verse 22, Matthew chapter 4, verse 22, and except those days be shortened, there shall be no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So when these things start to occur at the same time, like having this domino effect, right? That's actually shortening the days, because here's Esau working on his new world order, trying to get all these things in place, trying to get all these technologies, all these deceptive narratives and all these things in place, and boom, the coronavirus kicks off and it starts catching fire to where things may be unforeseen to certain levels, and people have to make adjustments, and as they make adjustments, those adjustments affect other things, and further adjustments have to be made. So in a sense, these days are being shortened because more actions have to be taken just to stop what's going on, or just to make it subside. Right? So whatever plan Esau has, he has to start moving fast now, because he knows he has a short time.
Look at this shit. Headed towards Chicago
Right?
now.
So now is the time to come back to the Lord. Now is the time to put away all your sins. Now is the time to go even harder for this truth, because we really don't know how long or short these times are going to be.
Wow.
All we know is what we see
Look
right
how
now.
long that fucker is, dude.
And what we can surely see is that the Lord is doing work. The Lord is doing numbers right now. This is going to be a boat that you don't want to miss, because the proof is in the pudding. We see these things that are happening right now. So now is the time to put on the armor of Christ. And I mean, if the shoe fits, wear it. If you've been doing the work, you know, if you've been praying, you've been studying, even fasting, you've been observing the high holy days, you know, all praises to the Most High for that. Keep doing it. Try to find out the things that you aren't doing. Try to find out the things that you can improve on, and make those adjustments, because we're in the last leg of this thing. We're so close. We're so close. You know, our salvation could be nearer than when we believe. So that's all I really wanted to touch on. Just, you know, kind of, you know, give an update on the, you know, just the things that are happening right now, and what I'm seeing through the Spirit. And, you know, Lord willing, you know, you were edified. If one person was edified, the job has been done. And until then, till the next video, giving all praise, all honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Shalom.